Well, consciousness is an energy. It's not something that like relates with energy. An energy wouldn't relate with energy. An energy is an energy. But you would say that consciousness is not understood as an energy. It's rather understood as a state of being. And when it's understood as a state of, you know what a state of being is? Just like, just the way you are, you know? But a consciousness is not really a state of being, it's an energy. It's something which can transform, which can flow, just like any other energy. And because of that, it may transform its states rapidly. That is why somebody who may have a very elevated or exalted consciousness may suddenly dive into what somebody might call not so elevated or exalted consciousness, and similarly opposite, Somebody who has a very low form, we might call low form of consciousness, may suddenly do something very elevated or exalted, or manifest some quality of great brilliance or intelligence or something like that. That's because that consciousness as an energy can transform like any energy or flow like any energy rapidly through different levels. That is why you can have sudden bursts of inspiration. That's why suddenly you can tap into something which is far beyond you by simply the energy flowing or tapping or connecting with some higher realm. Now, consciousness as such is simply a word which describes our awareness of our energy. Now, of course, you can speak in the Vedic terms of consciousness, wakening, the stages of consciousness: wakening, sleep, and deep sleep, and also sushupti, also a swoon state. So these forms of consciousness may be discussed, but actually these are just forms of our state of being, or a state of awareness, more or less. Like when you're in your awakened state, naturally you are perceiving things directly with your energy and with your senses, all in an awakened form. However, being physically awake is not necessarily awakened consciousness. Sometimes when you're sleeping, for instance, you may have moments of great awakening. Just like when you're having a dream, which is very wonderful, or spiritual, or something of some revelation or something that's going on in a dream. Now, it's technically, from the point of view of these states of awareness, you're asleep and dreaming, but factually you may be awake in your consciousness. Because that energy, when you entered into that sleeping state, connected with something in its sleeping state, which was very wonderful and aware and awake. Similarly, I know for a fact in myself, and I have heard that it is like this with many others, and I think it's like this with all people, it's only that some know it, some don't, that when you're in the state between sleep and awakefulness, generally as you're going into sleep, or as you're coming out of sleep, there's a few moments of great clarity, awakening, and you can understand things that you never understood before. I know that there are some scientists who were trying to keep themselves in that state between sleep and awakeness, being awake and asleep. They were trying to keep, because they knew at that moment, when you let go of the great attachment and tenseness and stress and anxiety or pushing to understand things in your awakened state, and you're drifting off to sleep, all of a sudden some kind of knowledge manifests, or awareness manifests, or you realize something in that state. And you go, aha, that's it. But when you enter into the sleeping state, you forget it. And when you wake up, you may or may not remember it. Therefore, these people were trying to keep themselves in that state. I also know some spiritualists who are trying to do the same thing by not sleeping. By not sleeping, they were trying to keep themselves in that state where that wonderful, relaxed awareness could manifest. Now, if you examine what that really is, it's that I feel that we generally block off our natural knowledge that's within our hearts. Generally, we block it off because of so many conceptions, because of so many restrictions socially or mentally, emotionally that we place upon ourselves or have been placed upon ourselves by others, such as our father, our mother, our family, our friends, or our teachers, or any other member of society or whatever, has placed upon us restrictions which cause us naturally, not naturally, but cause us to assume the nature of blocking off our natural spiritual knowledge, which is there within every one of us. Because if we are non-different from the Lord in quality, then we must have that knowledge. That must be there, part of us, within our heart. That's us, that's our knowledge, that's our energy, that's our consciousness. So why isn't it there? It's because we have not tapped it. Now you can say that's because you're covered. But I think a more specific description of that would be that we have blocked off that passageway by which the energy may contact or manifest out from us in that very marvelous and intelligent and enlightened manner. We've blocked it off. Just like if you were to block off your sight. Now, energy, of course, is not a one-way thing. And I think also the eyes are also not a one-way thing. Just like you can look into people's eyes and look into their hearts through their eyes. So, everybody knows that. Similarly, the energy of ourselves flows back and forth. Similarly, the knowledge potency not only manifests out, but it comes in as well. It emanates out and is absorbed in. It's a constant flow. And when you block that flow, then effectively what you are doing is you are not contacting the source of knowledge, but rather accepting knowledge from that which is normally perceived or normally understood in the world around you. That is that which you can perceive with your senses and learn, as in books or as teachers or what people tell you in so many things. And you thus lose the intelligence or knowledge within. Like maybe that lady, she's tapping, that we talked about last night. I know in me also a very interesting thing. When I'm going to do something, and something inside me is saying, I should do that. And then when my external consciousness analyzes that notion, that intuition, it says, that makes no sense. I shouldn't do that. Or, I can always do that later. Or, I don't understand. Why should I do that? Or whatever. But later on, almost always, I regret having not listened because it was something turned up later on which made me understand I should have done that. Now, I know that I myself, me, that I am aware of with this body and all that stuff that you're looking at and I look at in the mirror and all that, has no capacity to know whether or not this particular thing should have been done or not. But when my consciousness is under the surface allowed to be connected to higher sources of consciousness, higher sources of knowledge, then if I allow that flow to take place, by opening up and not blocking off because of prejudices or because of trying to be what others want me to be or because of what I've supposedly learned or because of what even makes sense or doesn't make sense, then I can get contact with enormous sources of good advice and knowledge and understanding and clarity and illumination and all these things. In other words, it's available to every single person. It's not only for intelligent people. It's for every single person. And when people allow that knowledge, which is the energy of the soul, to flow and to connect in its original source. Because you're not just like, as a part of God, you're not just like some cup which is filled up and that's the end of you. Because you have that connection. There's a connection there. If even two people, as we discussed yesterday, karmically can have a connection of hatred or love from life to life, then why can't I, as part of the Lord, have connection with Him always? If I can connect with you life after life simply because I hate you, or connect to some other person life after life because I love them, why can't I have connection with the Lord, who after all I'm a part of, always, at all moments? Of course I can. The only thing is that I think I can't. Or I don't even consider it. I just think it's something impossible even, or I don't even worry about it, or maybe I don't even care about it or want it. But when you're consciously aware of it, and again, here's the consciousness, yes? Consciousness and being consciously aware, these are different, although the words are similar. The consciousness, that energy, is that which is making up my being. My consciousness and my being are not different, because I am consciousness. Completely and fully, I am consciousness. Come on, come on. So, when I allow that energy, when I allow my conscious energy, whether it be in the sleeping state or the awakened state or whatever, to flow like that with the consciousness and conscious energy of the Supreme, then all of a sudden the doors to enormous knowledge open up. You can sit here. Come on.